Hey, and welcome to the Getting to This Place podcast with Luke Folger and Reeya Banerjee. We are talking about Reeya's record, This Place, and how we got to this place. This is the 6th episode, and we've been going and focusing on individual songs, episode by episode, and we come to the song called For the First Time. Reeya, take it away.
So there's a lot of things going on in this song. This took place at a time in my life. It was my first job out of college, which I stumbled into via a temp job, and that led to a permanent job, and that led to a 15-year career in accounting. So I'm a rock and roll accountant. That's what Tim calls me.
We should, before you go too much further, we should just reset for people who might be joining the idea that the overarching theme of this record is somewhat displacement and moving around and your life as you've experienced it through the various geographies you've lived in.
Yeah, exactly. So I stumbled into a job at a resort in the Hudson Valley. It's Mohonk Mountain House, for those who are in the know. It's a historic heritage property, something like that. And it's a beautiful place. It's at the top of a mountain. It's in the foothills of the Catskill Mountains. It was a very beautiful place to work. It was a very odd place to work because it was just up on a mountain, and it was like its own little village of its own up there. Everybody knew each other. Everybody knew everyone's business. Everyone was all up in everyone's shit and gossip. And but it was also a place where I'd kind of been, I don't want to say timid before then, but I was in school, throughout school, except when it came to things like theater and performance. That was kind of when like the outgoing part of me came out. I was otherwise like, the quiet person who sat in the back of the class and was like, "Oh, please don't call on me. Please don't call on me. I don't want to talk." And then I got a job that involved a lot of interaction. I was working at a resort, and so I wasn't necessarily having client interaction, but I was dealing with other people and dealing with vendors and stuff like that. And I had to get comfortable talking to people really fast. So, so there's a bit of like, this is the place where I have started to come to be, started the process of being adult, started the process of being who I turned into, or who I was, slowly turning into. And then it's a little bit of a love song to the Hudson Valley. It's a little bit of a love song to that property, just because I was there for 4 years. It's a little bit of, I met my current partner, Tim. We were both working there. And he started working there literally 3 weeks after I started working there. And, it was just sort of, I came close to a lot of people that I worked there. It felt like a little family, a little gossipy family. And, so it's a love song about all of that. And it's also, kind of almost like a love song about, like, hey, I like who I'm turning into. I think that this is a good evolution for me. I think that I'm turning into like an adult. So it's sort of
It's
a love
clear in the
song.
lyrics. I mean, the lyrics are almost very literal. Is there a place I can work for a while? I'm the person I'd like to be.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm open to burning bright. It won't go unnoticed for the first time. There's a sort of a hopefulness there. So Luke, in the production of this record and where this song sits in the arc, the trajectory of the story of this place, what did you think? What were your thoughts when you first heard the idea of how to set this so that it conveyed that sort of sense of discovery and optimism?
Yeah, well, with each location, it's like we wanted to look at the big emotional themes that were going on, and it's like that sort of settling into yourself and being comfortable with yourself is fun to sing about, but it ended up being really fun just to talk about the location and this kind of like closed space where like you're protected and it's like you can be yourself, and it's just like this warm, familial place. I like the line about like having cigarettes like up the iron stairs. I've actually never been there, but we were riding the
Oh,
stairs together.
the
And
iron stairs is actually not. That's a back of the house. Guests aren't allowed back
oh,
there. That's like a
okay.
into the employee area. But yeah, it was a long set of iron stairs, and that was where the smoke. Unfortunately, I was a heavy smoker back then, but that was where all the smokers would hang out, and that's
Oh, word.
I made a lot of friends in the smoking area. Learned a lot about what was going on in the hotel outside of the finance division, just because
Yeah.
you just end up talking with people there. So
It was really fun
any of
to.
that stuff ever file its way into your lyrics? I mean, like when I'm sure that working in that kind of a capacity, this is a little off the topic of the
Yeah.
record, but when you exist in that environment and you see things, as you said, like from the back stairs, there must be some ideas that you file away going, I'm going to write about this person or that interaction or that scene someday.
it's funny. I've always said that I want to write a book about that place. And there are multiple people who work there who have said the same thing. And I keep thinking someday there's going to be like a collaborative book about that place because it is an odd place. Stephen King comes there every year to write. He kind of hunkers down and, people see him wandering the halls in his pajamas going to the breakfast brunch service. And the rumor is that maybe the hotel in The Shining might be based a little bit on
I was
Mohonk.
gonna say I
Yeah.
have been to Mohonk. I mean, I live in the Hudson Valley, and it's
Yeah.
a well-known landmark. I mean, it's a tourist destination. There's a lot of
Yeah.
climbers. There's a lot of people who hike up there in the
Yep.
Mohonk Preserve, and it is exactly that kind of hotel. It's a
Yeah.
Shining style hotel,
Yeah.
and
He
it's got it's somewhat modernized, but still has a little bit of creepy. You expect the little twins
Oh,
down at the
yeah.
end of the hall,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. He has never confirmed or denied, but everybody who works there kind of assumes that that's the case.
It's
Yeah,
plausible.
there's also just like a lot of
Let's
just like
start an
back
internet rumor.
exactly. There's just like a
Started
lot
here.
of wacky characters there, like people who started working there outside of high school, like right after high school, and then never left. And then they're there for
Yeah.
30 plus years. And it's cool because they have a lot of institutional knowledge about the place, but they're also just very sheltered. And that was another thing, that's another lyric in the song was, I came in there and I did feel like I had, gained a family and a community, but I still was an outsider to, just like the culture of the place because I wasn't, like a kid who grew up on a farm in Ulster County who'd never left. And that was, a lot of the people who were there. And that was, again, Tim had, he'd come from the city. And so that's kind of initially what connected the two of us. We were kind of like, what is this place? It's kind of
So it's sort
weird.
of a fish out of water love story, a
Exactly.
Yeah,
mutual
exactly.
bonding. So it just goes
Yep.
to show you that, members of your true family come from strange places.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
Yeah, well
Exactly.
said.
that's a good sentiment to have as to kick off the back half of your record, that sense of forward motion and discovery.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
great. Well, thanks for talking about this. And those of you out there, stay tuned for future episodes. We're going through the rest of the record this place, and we'll see you next time.